Course 2, we're in lesson 66 today, found in your textbook on page 466. Making good progress, and so I'm excited for you and your math um, up to this point. Today we have a lesson that I think you're going to find relatively easy, but it's just kind of about association and making sure you understand what's being asked. We're talking about ratio problems, and the ratio problems that we're going to have has something unique, and I'm going to underline this because it involves totals, which is different from what we've seen before. Okay, and involving totals, this shouldn't alarm you, but in the first little section here of 466, the question or the statement says the ratio of boys to girls at the assembly was 5 to 4. So I've written 5 boys, 4 girls, and then it tells us that there were 180 total kids. Okay? I'm going to teach you the best and easiest way to solve these problems. And then it asks us how many boys and how many girls there were. All right? So if we label this first one boys and we label the second one girls, doesn't matter which way we go. We could put girls and boys, but total always needs to be down here. Now, how many boys were there? There were 5. So let's put 5 here. How many girls? 4. We don't know the total. Well, actually we do, because 5 plus 4 is 9. Now, I'm going to circle 9 because this is an important part. It didn't give us 9 in our question, but we had to do what's called derive it. So 5 plus 4 equals 9, and that is what is filled in here. Okay? Now, we don't know boys, so I'm going to put a B, and we don't know girls, but we do know one other piece of information. We know 180, and notice where I'm putting 180. I'm putting 180 over on the right hand side, and then I'm going to find out how many girls and how many boys there are. Okay, now watch this. We're going to take, to find out how many girls there are, we're going to take the bottom 4 boxes, and we're going to say 4 over 9, represented right here, equals girls, we don't know, over 180. Okay, how do we figure this one out? Well, if you have an equal sign, that means you can multiply or cross multiply. So 9 times g is 9g equals 4 times 180. All right, so multiply 4 times 180. 4 times 180, and you should come up with 720. All right, now if you want girls by itself, we're going to divide by 9 on both sides. These two cancel out, and what we're left with is girls equals 720 divided by 9 gives us 80. So we can go back and rewrite our chart here, okay? And we've got boys at 5, girls at 4. We know the total is 9. We just found out that girls are 180, and watch this. If we've got these two numbers, 180 total minus 80 will give us boys. So we know that boys are going to be more than girls, and it's the same fraction as 5/4. So in order to find out each one of these, we had to come up with, and I'm going to put it in green, we had to come up with this box right here. We had to come up with that total, and then we had to do this equation in order to solve for girls, and that made it really easy to solve for boys. Let's do another one, okay? And I think you're going to get this really quickly and really easily. Let's go to the example on page 467. It says the ratio of football players to soccer players was 5 to 7. All right, I'm going to label football and soccer, and then I'm going to put T for total. Okay, I'm going to build my box, and it's got 3 layers: football, soccer, and then total. All right, go back and let's see how many we have of each. All right, football we had 5, soccer we had 7. Well, what's 5 plus 7? We got to figure out what the total is. That's 12. All right, we came up with that by just adding these two. Okay, now we don't know a couple of things. We don't know what football is, we don't know what soccer is, but we do know what the total is. The text will tell us that. It said the room totaled 48 players. Okay, now I see this right here as my equation. 7 over 12 equals soccer players over 48. Cross multiply, I get 12s equals 7 times 48 is going to equal 336. I divide by 12, and these two cancel out. And when I do that, I will come up with soccer players equaling 28. So I'm going to redraw this, put in my answers. So I know that I had 5 football, 7 soccer, that is 12 total. I know I had 48, and I just found out what how many soccer players there were. There were 28. So that means I'm going to use these two numbers and subtract them to find out my football players, right? There's football, there's soccer, there's total. So 48 minus 28, and we would see that we have 20, right? So that is my answer. Very simple, doesn't take too long to do. Maybe the hardest part is making sure that you add up the total and then put this number 48 in the right hand column as opposed to the left, because if you put 48 where the 12 is, if you do this and transpose those numbers, it's going to be terribly wrong. Okay, the next hardest thing will be making sure that you cross multiply and do your multiplication division correctly, but again, pretty simple in order to do that. Okay, that's your lesson. You're going to find a couple of these questions or one of the questions in your lesson today. If you need any help, don't be afraid to ask.